Hello engineers, and welcome back to another episode of Automated, where we are trying to build 5-star factories in this lovely little puzzle game. We are up to World 4 Level 7 Neural Phase Eternal Snowshine. There's only 6 people on the leaderboard, so if you haven't picked up this game, I highly encourage it. It's pretty fun. Now, we need to deliver 80 neural phase threads in 2 minutes 50 or 2 minutes 15. So we basically need to make double this, I reckon. Because we need like a minute for the machine to wear up, and then we're going to deliver 80 in like a minute. So I reckon 2 of these. Is that going to be a problem? Let's have a look. And well, 1 overclocked manufacturer essentially, which means we need 120 of these, which looks like a problem, and 120 of these, which maybe is a problem. It's a store packing thing with mostly liquid. That's not going to be a problem then. Making this at 120 might be a problem, these fusion fuel rods. The recipe change doesn't do much, it just changes what we need from this side. We're either cutting diamond or we're cutting astrolite. This is going to be the problem. We need a recipe that can make as much as possible, which is definitely this one. So we're going to need the aluminum over here. Then this is going to be an issue because it only makes 30. Or we do this one, which makes 120. But requires a lot more stuff. Otherwise 30 is 2 manufacturers, which I really hate, rather than just 1 advanced press. I want to stick with this recipe for now, knowing that there is an alternate for the automated control panels. This is fine. This is just a plastic housing. And this looks fine. This is already making 60, so we can ignore that. Yeah, this should be fine. So 60, 60. And then we can overclock this. We can overclock this. What about this thing? This thing makes 30, or we can do it in a store packing. Literally just one overclock store packing or 2 dissolution chambers. I don't know what's smaller, honestly. But we need to make a lot of liquids. Let's see if any of the liquids share anything in common. There's no alternate recipe for any of this liquid along this chain. And unfortunately, nothing shares liquid with this. And there's no alternate recipe that doesn't involve plastic here. So we're going to need to make a lot of liquid. Salt water? Not even salt water is here. That's terrible. What about this thing over here? Again, it's a completely different liquid. We can do the easy way. And that doesn't... If we did it easy way, we'd need an overclocked store packer to make the 20. Or we do it the hard way, which we need 1 dissolution chamber, but then all of this. So unless this game has given us some liquids that we can work with, which I don't see any liquids on this first map. Wait, what is this? Iridium. Okay, I thought that was a pre-done material. Our final output, oh, we've got 3 maps. So this is our first map with a bunch of raw materials. Our second map over here is the final output. It's got the uranium. And then our third map is up here, which I assume has all the liquids. It's only given us 1 liquid. Let's see what the liquids we need are. So all it's given us is this pink fire, which is helium-3. Everything else is made from water. And what's this liquid made out of? Water and sulfur. Platinum shadow opal. Interesting. I suggest we start with this. Maybe things will clear itself up to me. So here we're trying to make a void stabilizer, and we're going to need water to start with and copper eventually. We'll start with 1 of these liquids. I mean, this platinum looks the simplest. I'm just making sure it's not used anywhere else. I don't think so. All right, let's go for this first part of the solution, which is the platinum 120 into a dissolution chamber. That seems simple enough. That makes our 60 per minute of this, and that needs to be mixed with liquid carbon. Where is liquid carbon? It's up here, in a dissolution chamber. Now, given that we're gonna definitely need quantum pipe teleporters somewhere, I'm just gonna put one, like, say, right here for now. And we'll input the liquid like this. Shove that on a network. Copy that down, and we'll shove the output here for now. We'll tell it that our purple output needs to be liquid carbon. There we go. We've made a start. We've created our catalyzed carbon binder. That needs to go into a biofluxer like that, and that makes our pink liquid, our plasma linked catalyst gel. Let's move on to the second part of this, which is the shadow crystal. The shadow crystal is over here, and again that just needs to go into a dissolution chamber, which makes the shadow opal solution, and then that needs to go into a biofluxer. So we just did something like that. And that. I'm going to try to conserve as much space as I can. That makes our stabilized opal slurry. Now we need to make sulfuric acid. We've done that a bunch of times before. But to make sulfuric acid, we need to get water and sulfur, neither of which are on this map. Let's go find it. It's not on this map. I see my sulfur. Am I blind? It must be on this map. There's the water. So we're going to need a quantum transporter at some point. Shove it on a network. And then let's go to the final map, which is number 2. We're going to need a quantum transporter here as well at some point, because it's going to need to output our final product into here, right? Because our final product isn't whatever, right? Or it'll have to mix with this. So let's get that into the quantum transporter. Now with our sulfur in the quantum transporter, we need to go to where all our liquids are, and we need to output the sulfur somewhere. The sulfur needs to mix with the water to make sulfuric acid. So I'm going to put down my water thing to make steam first. So I'm going to put my first chemical infuser, say here. That makes our steam. Our steam needs to mix with a dissolution chamber. So I'm going to put my dissolution chamber, say here. Then we're just going to belt this over in the least awkward way possible. Something like this. And we're going to tell it the yellow output is in fact going to put out sulfur. So now we have our 2 components. They go into a chemical infuser. So we can chuck that, say here for now. We can go in like that and in like that. Now we've made our sulfur trioxide. We need to mix that with water steam. If I put it here, does that give me the ability to do things? Yeah, I can. Let's put it there. And our water steam can come up and over. Like that. There's our sulfur. Now what does the sulfur need to mix with? It needs to mix with this liquid in a chemical infuser along with this liquid. We haven't made this yet. This requires copper. It's quite a long process. It does require copper into a dissolution chamber with the sulfuric acid. So let's find our copper. Oh, it's right here. Convenient. I'm going to furnace the copper, but I know I'm going to need the copper for other stuff. I'm just want to quickly observe the map to see if they've given us a second copper node. Definitely not. So before we furnace this thing, I'm just going to split this into two 10 belts. That's weird. They've given us a really awkward amount of copper. If we take out 60, that's a 360 belt. Okay, that's fine. So into a furnace with a dissolution chamber. Maybe we can put the furnace, say here. Into a dissolution chamber you go. And we need it with the sulfur. So we'll bring the sulfur out this way. And up you go. That gets our third liquid. And then we need to put that into a biofluxer. So we just flip this. And flip this. We should get our brown copper flux vapor. All of that needs to go into a chemical infuser. So with the sulfur, with everything. I want to point it in one of these directions. Doesn't really matter which way I do this, because it's always going to be awkward. One of the liquids is going to be this. Bring that along here. This gas is going to go into one of these. And we might need to make space for the other gas pipe, so I might bring the liquid out this way first before we go up. Probably like that. And we can bring the sulfur into the other liquid. Like that. And that makes our void reaction slurry, which then needs to go into another chemical infuser with this list gel thing. So I might put that down here. And for now, we'll just get a random pipe over here. But we might need to move this thing at some point, because that thing goes with this thing down here and up here. Great, we've made our void stabilizer. That's that big chain of stuff over here, and that's what that looks like, pretty much taking up all the space over here. I'm a little bit worried about this thing over here, but we can move all these processes downstairs if we need to. There's no reason all of this has to be up here. It's only because the water was up here and I transported my thing up here, but that can be done anywhere. So we've made a giant mess, so let's just forge on and continue to make this thing. Plasma arc energy, what is that? That's taking the hydrogen into a chemical infuser into a biofluxer. That's not crazy. Do we have hydrogen yet? No. I want to probably do this down here, because this is quite big, right? Makes sense for a biofluxer to be squeezed in here, maybe. Alright, doesn't matter. Let's just squeeze it in here and we'll refactor. We're gonna have to, let's be real, we're gonna have to refactor all this one day. So let's just do this in the dumbest way possible to see what exactly we need to do. So into a chemical infuser, you can direct input, can't you? No, you can't, because how would it know which gas to put in? So that makes that. And then we need to bioflux this. That can be direct. And that makes our plasma arc energy. And these two need to store pack in with this thing. That's pretty much all our liquids done. We need the solid part of this bottom half process. This is where the uranium comes in as well. So if we're going to overclock our store packer, we're going to need to overclock this thing. Fusion fuel rod. It looks hard to make. We've still got a liquid component to make for this. We haven't decided whether we want to just use this. A uranium suspension, which uses the plasma arc energy, which we're already making. If we were to do that, we'd have to put this into, we'd have to overclock this. Yeah, we just have to overclock a store packing, which is massive. So looking at this process, I mean, one dissolution chamber can make the 20 that we need, or one overclocked store packer. I'm going with the store packer because that's just one chemical infuser. To make this liquid, we're going to need a chemical infuser, chemical infuser, chemical infuser, chemical infuser, chemical infuser. Yeah, I think one overclocked store packer is definitely the way to go. So we just need one chemical infuser to turn our arc energy into superheated plasma core. And then we just need 120 uranium. The other question is where to do this. Definitely back here, otherwise I'm going to have to transport the astrolite. Because I believe my uranium is at the end of the map, right? This is my uranium? Yeah. It's given us 360. Let's just check whether we need to bring all of the 360. So to get this part of it, overclocking that, we need 120. And then to store this, we need 240. So we need more uranium than what that thing can provide. That's a little bit annoying. But it's fine, because this thing only needs one output, right? So for example, that. And then we can just split this. And then we can get one uranium going here and one uranium going here. And if we theoretically upgrade that belt, that should get all our uranium into our quantum transporter. And then we can use it over here. So if we go back to our map 1, sorry, our map 3, we should be able to chemically infuse something over here. And we're going to need space for this, but for now I'm just going to put my chemical infuser over here. Get our gas going like that, and that's our plasma arc energy. That needs to mix in a store packer, and I'm just going to put my store packer here. And I know I'm blocking off this, and obviously all of this is going to have to move. And into the store packer we need to bring something coming out of here, the uranium. Okay, in that case I might just want to move everything a little bit, because I'd like my store packer to be here. Like that, and then I can bring my uranium like this. And then this can output uranium. Really? It doesn't want to do that? Alright, let me sort this out properly. So the purple is going to be an output, and we're going to filter it for uranium. Like that. And into the store packer you go. And there you go. Now we've got uranium into here. We just need to put the gas. Now where can we do the gas? We've done it over here, but this red thing is being used somewhere else, right? Yeah, it's being used directly somewhere. And we want to sort of clear this area. So maybe we can put this down here for now. And then put this over here. And put this back this way. Clear this area in case we need it. Can move this a little bit closer just to open up some space. Either way, it takes up a lot of space. Hydrogen goes in here. This gas goes into this. Is that right? Makes our purple gas. Our purple gas then goes into here. And that should make our 10, and we should be able to overclock that to 20. And that's going to go into a dissolution chamber. So we might want to move that out here just to put room for a dissolution chamber right at the end here. Just like that, and now we've got our liquid that we want. Our liquid can go wherever it needs to go one day. We need to reconnect these two pipes. So probably best to go up and over here somewhere. Gonna do that for now. We can tighten that up later. I can go down one level, it's fine. We should just do it properly now. That way we know. Otherwise, who knows? We might need this level for something else. Now here's the fun part. This needs to go into another overclocked store packer. I'm just going to put one here for now with the liquid and the other belt of uranium. So we're going to need to split it like this because it needs to split directly off this thing. Then one belt needs to go out this way and the other belt needs to go here. Huh. Can I rotate this thing? It's not too important what I do right now, but essentially we need to do this. And that needs to go into the other store packer. So if I put a thing here, can that route around like that? It can. So into this store packer, we put this. Now this is a 240 belt of uranium, unfortunately. So we need to do that. That should get all our uranium in, or not for some reason. Why doesn't it like this? Output, uranium. There we go. And it also goes in with this liquid, which I'm blocking with this lift. What if we change this to face this direction for now? Then my lift can go, say, here. And this thing can go where? Over the lift? Finding a free spot. This is already getting super messy. There we go. That works. Now I'm only getting 30. Why? Because this thing needs to be upgraded. We should be getting 120. Why am I only getting 30? What? Sorry, I'm outputting the wrong thing. Sulfur here, and into the light blue is uranium. That's weird. Apparently we're not getting enough uranium. So into this one we need 120, which is what we're getting. Let me cut this belt. That gets the 120. And then into here we need the 240, which we're getting. I don't see what the problem is. We got 360 here. Do we have to do some weird rate limiting for some weird reason? Let me try that. So if we rate limit the right output, the green one, to 120, does that solve our problem? Don't tell me one of these can only output at 120. That makes no sense. Surely it can output all the uranium out of here, unless this output port is locked to a limit. No, the output port says it can output at 1200. If I cut this cable, does that give me the 240 that I need? No. This is all upgraded. That's all upgraded. That's all upgraded. Let me just test if I change the green port to output uranium as well. And instead of doing this, we bring the green port out this way. And then we bring this one over here. That's still not enough uranium. That tells me the input is not sufficient. There's something wrong with my input. Because I've got uranium coming out of there, uranium coming out of there. And we know the output can output as much as we want. This is not happy. Oh, I'm an idiot. I didn't set this to input. There you go. Now we'll redo this. And that should get us everything that we want. 120 of this. Mixed with that gets us 120 of that. Now that just needs to go into a welder to make the fusion fuel rods. And to do that, we just need 240 of the astrolite. Where is our astrolite? I believe it was here somewhere. To do that, we're going to need a lot of astrolite and a welder. But at the end of the day, it's just transporting 240, so one belt. We can do it here, and this thing's happening over here. So we need to like refactor a lot of this stuff, I reckon. Let me go ahead and refactor it such that this thing's output, because all of this is liquid, it can go anywhere, right? But this solid thing's output and this astrolite thing needs to be sort of together. So I'll be back when that's done. While I was refactoring, I also just noticed we definitely need to do something with this copper. And also, I just realized this is not astrolite. So we need to sort out this copper first. And if you look at what we need the copper for, I don't see it needing for anything else. So we just need to build this advanced press. We only need one overclocked one. So let's build that. That way we know what to build around this, right? So it's our general advanced cutter furnace style setup with our press, a splitter into there, and then just one belt into there. I think that's the tightest we can make that. And then we need to put that into an advanced press. You can just do something like that. And this isn't being used at all, so I might use this space a bit better. but theoretically we should be able to overclock all of that. I'm just going to put this here so that I know I need to fit this system in here somewhere. If we just upgrade that, we should be good. Let me just move this back one tile, and we're happy with that. Yep, I'm happy with that being here. I don't see any more efficiency we can gain out of this. I want to move this over here for now because I don't see any other use for this thing right now. Now we can do some more stuff with this space over here. I'm wondering if I can fit a second one of these here. Yeah, we can just fit a second one of these here, which is great. I want to put this like here, because that's going to be an input now. Wherever this is going to go, I think we definitely need to move this. Where's the plastic and the liquid chloride? Well, the liquid chloride's going to be here. Oh, we might move this. Alright, we won't lock that in yet because I don't know if I'm going to transport this or whether I'm going to do something with this. So we'll just give ourselves room to work, which is putting it here. Now, why do I want this up here as opposed to down here? Because my water is here. What if we did it down here? So it's more central. Because what are we bringing down here that needs to be doing all this? This process can be done anywhere, right? Because it's just taking this hydrogen thing. So if I did all my store packing down there, that is also fine. Because at the end of the day, it just needs to go maybe back into the quantum teleporter. So we'll just refactor accordingly and see what goes where and what makes the most sense. When that's done, I'll come back and talk about it. Alright, I finished refactoring this section and we've created a lot of space. One of the main things we've done is we've put in this thing now. So we've refactored all of the liquid as closely as we can to sort of produce all of this. So we've got all our processes to make this void stabilizer over here. Oh, sorry, the chemical infuser to make the void reaction slurry. And then we're bringing that over here with the pink liquid to make the void stabilizer. That's one of our liquids that we need. The other thing that we need is the plasma arc energy, which is going to be over here. And the third thing that we need is this fusion fuel rod, which we're just doing over here temporarily. This one's a very interesting one because as you can see, the component that we need up here is the same. It doesn't matter. It's always going to be 60 per minute of this. But down here, we can either make it out of diamond dust or we can make it out of astrolite. If we go into our side where that exists, we've got astrolite here and we've got diamond dust here. To get the amount of diamond dust we need for double this production, we would need 120, and that would mean we need 480. And as you can see, it's not giving us quite enough diamonds to do this. And also over here on the astrolite, we can't do it with the astrolite because we need to cut we need 120 of this. Double that is 240. So we would need 240 of that. We're only getting 60 of that. So basically what it's saying is that to get the full output of double, you need to use both the astrolite and the diamond and bring it out into here. But we're not going to go over the complexity of that process. We'll only implement that later if it's absolutely necessary, because that would involve a second welder, which I don't really want to put in a second welder. But basically you're going to be creating your 105 here, and then you're going to make your missing 15 using astrolite in a second welder, which is super dumb. Not super dumb. I mean, I guess that might be the challenge of the level, but we're just going to make 105 for now, and we'll just note that we can make more if we need to, but that should allow us to put that all into another store packing. So we might need to reorder this, and then that should get us our final item. So I'm going to implement that now. So we might need to refactor this a little bit. So I put this over, say, all the way out this way. Then bring this belt in here. That's already using the 240, so that's not great. So I'm tempted to not split here. In which case we can just get this yellow one to output uranium. That way we can get that going there. And then we can get rid of this pipe now. And we need to route this pipe's liquid into here. So I believe something like that. We can go over here, hop over this one, and then join it here. So that'll get us our 120. That needs to go into a welder. So I'm going to put my welder facing this direction, and maybe, just maybe, I can fit a store packing here. And obviously I'm blocking my silicon. So I need to see if silicon is being used anywhere in this process. Based on the recipes I've selected, it doesn't look like I'm using silicon anywhere. We can reorder this at some point when we need to. So hopefully that will be okay. So the store packing is going to take this material and 2 liquids. Trying to see if I can put it a little bit closer. That's not going to happen. I could put this back 1. I could if I want to. But this thing still needs to get input in. So maybe I should rotate this. Oh, so tight. But if I put that there, then I can't get the liquid in. Oh my god. Can this all be shifted across 1? I think it can. That doesn't affect anything. What if I disconnect it over here? The output of this needs to be sulfur. So all of this is happy again. Now I've got 1 extra tile of space over here. And how does that extra tile of space help me in any way, shape or form? It lets me put this over here. Oh, it's just so tight. If I did that, we can route this around the back. It's a solution. Then that can go in and this can come out like that. Now, if we get the green output to output the diamond dust, this should give me what I want. So we're only getting diamond dust at the moment, so we needed that as well. There's our 105. Into the store packer you go. Now, we need to put the red thing and this thing in. Might flip this to make it a little bit easier. That's already conveniently there, and the red thing we can just bring around the back. And there it is, 60 per minute. We can overclock that to 105 as well, which we can assume is close enough to 120. Hopefully that'll be enough. And there we go. That's our first big component made. All of that's going to need to go into a manufacturer at some point at the very end, along with this thing. So now we can focus our attention to the other half of the equation, which is this thing. It looks a little bit smaller, but we need to figure out some stuff. For example, where's our plastic bit and how are we going to get the power cables in? Because the power cables are currently right here, and our thing over here is kind of being taxed. So we could use a second one on a different network or on the same network. It doesn't really matter. We have the space over here, which I'm sure we're going to be using. So let's figure out where our plastic even is. Our water salt is over here, right? Where's our salt? Our water is over here. Let's see where it makes sense to make this. Our salt is over here. Our plastic is over here. So it makes sense to make all this over here. So if we can just bring our water to this side of the world, that'll help us out a lot. Is there an alternate recipe for this? Because this uses diamond as well. We can do the advanced cutter method of this, but then that uses stone and all this crap and still uses diamond. Either way, this uses diamond. Well, that's going to be a huge problem. How are we going to make this in any sort of volume that we need if our diamond is also being used up here? There's no way this can use astrolite because we only have 60 astrolite. That's silly. So we have to use the diamond there, and then we have to use the diamond here. I feel like it's telling me that I don't need to produce this in double the volume. If I make 60 per minute, to do 80, it's just going to take over a minute. So if the whole system can wear up in like 40 seconds, in theory, we should be able to deliver 80. But I don't think that's the case. unless I'm missing something, there's no way we can produce enough diamond. Because either way, this recipe is fixed. There's only two versions of this recipe, either making 30 per minute or 60 per minute. Either way, it needs this tuned quantum processor, and either way, the tuned quantum processor needs this much diamond. So if 60 diamond turns into that, and then 120 diamond turns into 60 of this, then that's 180 diamond. But we need to double this, so this is using 240 diamond plus 60. That's 300. And we only have 420 diamond. If we want to double this, we need the 60, another 60 diamond on top of what we're doing. That'll double that up. Yeah, our diamond's going to be our limiting factor, I see. Alright, let's process the aluminum on this side first, and then we'll deal with the rest later. Where is the aluminum? We haven't even seen where aluminum is. It's over here. So this side should be pretty easy. We also got this material, iridium, which we're not using for anything. Why would they give us iridium? Is there something over here that uses iridium instead? I don't see anything that uses iridium instead. Was there something over here that uses iridium instead? No? Why'd they give us a completely random material that's not used in any of this? Weird. Let's not worry about it for now. Let's just get this advanced furnace setup going for aluminum first. We need aluminum for this side of the process too. And to make the 60, we need 120. Which means we need this solution as well in dissolution chambers. I guess we only need half of the diamond for this, because this makes 60. Oh, the volumes are so confusing. So if we're going for half of this, we only need one furnace to make 30 per minute. That means we only need the one dissolution chamber to make the 60 per minute. I'm so very confused. Then it makes sense we need to also bring this power cable out. There's a couple of challenges to solve at the same time, but let's go back to this map. We need to bring the water out. So we've got a thing here. Put it into the input. We'll make everything here input, just so less confusing. Okay, so we've got our water now into our fluid system. Our water and our salt need to be close by, so I'm going to put that over here. And this is all just going to be output. Into a dissolution chamber you go. Like that. We'll set the blue output to be water. Connect that in and we've got our brine. Our brine needs to be biofluxed. Then it needs to be biofluxed again. Just trying to fit it somewhere that makes sense. It's like one tile short of being able to fit. Did something like that. Wait, does this part? Yeah, that's part fine. Do that. Get that going around the back. And then we need one tile of space so that we can tell this thing to get biofluxed again to get our liquid. And then our liquid needs to go over here to make plastic and to make the other thing. So let's put the plastic molds into an advanced press. We need 120. So we just need a dissolution chamber, say here. And then we just need to bring that belt. I'll do it a little bit further out so that it doesn't intercept with stuff. Like that. There's our plastic molds. If we need more plastic molds, which we do, we can just overclock this. The plastic molds needs to go with these power cables. So now let's solve the other part of the problem, which is getting the power cables into the actual quantum transporter. So our power cables are being made over here, and they're kind of stuck here. Now I can just quantum transport it here if we wanted to, or we can figure out a way to get this input in. To get this input in, we would have to do something like this. Then we have to filter this one to be uranium. And then we have to turn off the filter for our blue. And then this thing that's filtering diamond dust needs to stop filtering for diamond dust. And our green thing instead needs to filter for diamond dust. And our red needs to be uranium. That gets everything still working and frees up one of my ports. So now if we brought this up very high, then maybe an elevator over here can meet it, like this. But does an elevator even go up that high? There. That's the height we need. And theoretically that can join with that. And that'll get our, is it 120? Yeah, 120 power cables into the quantum transporter system. Now we can go into this quantum transporter, or this one I should say, and theoretically output that somewhere. If we filter that, we should have that in our network. But I'm missing something, which is the final belt to go into the actual quantum transporter. What do you hate about this? It doesn't like something. We need to configure the green one to be an input. And that should sort everything. Like that. Now if we go onto this side, we should be able to filter our yellow port to output power cables. Fantastic. So that gets our power cables over to this side, and our power cables needs to mix with this thing to make this thing in an advanced press. So we did something like this, and then we just input this upwards. Then we just joined it over here for now, or wherever it lets me join, like here, and then get this going out here. That should get us our 120 of these, which is more than enough for the manufacturer. On this side of the equation, we need to make all the aluminum stuff. We've made our liquid chloride, so we just need a dissolution chamber to make 120 of this. So that would look like this, a dissolution chamber with a press on the back of it and a furnace somewhere. Something like that. And then we just need to stick aluminum into this. Space doesn't seem to be a massive issue here, but I'm sure I'll regret saying that. If we stick enough aluminum into this system, we get both of these things into our dissolution chamber. Then if we just add the bromine, like that, that should get us our 120 of this. And then we need more diamond. So we can't even make this. We're just taking the 60 now, which means all on this side of the world, we're making half of what we were before. So now we're only making 60 over here, which is fine, because we need to reserve some for this diamond. That makes 30, but I can overclock this to 60, and that should use up a lot of our diamond. Because with 60, now we can at least make double this. But why do I want to make double this? I only need 30 here. So if I underclock this one, 120 plus 60 is equal to 60 of this. Alright, we'll leave it at 60 for now with the 120 of this in a welder. Just because I have no idea what I'm doing. That makes 60 of this, but we only need 30. And we've got 120 of this, which we only need 60. And then we just need to turn the aluminum into this. Let's see if there's even a way to do this. So if we build an advanced furnace, and onto that we put a press and a cutter, like that. Then we split this, and we bring that in. Why do you hate this? Because you're not a cutter. And we output that. We don't have enough aluminum to do all this. All right, then let's just make it all at half pace then. So let's underclock this to make 60. And we can underclock this, that makes our 60, and then that makes our 60 on this side, which is all we need. 60 of that, 120 of that, we only need 60 of that, and then 30 of these, which is all we need, into a manufacturer, like that. Move that over one. And like that. Just connect that any which way. That makes our 60 of this. And 60 of that and that go into a manufacturer. So we basically just need to transport this back down into our quantum thingy-mabob. So let me just cut this. Get that going this way, and then we'll just bring this out any which way it wants, and down here and into a quantum transporter. The green is an input now, and that should get me this thing into the quantum transporter. Now we just need to get this thing into a quantum transporter. So if we go back to where we are here, we're inputting that into the quantum transporter. So if we were to just cut this belt like this, and then get that going across like that, we'd have to cut this, bring that across like that, then we can get rid of this belt. This is gonna have to go up one more, but that's not a problem. And then out this way. One more, then out this way. And connect that, and that should be all good, because now we can bring this into this quantum transporter too. And if we just upgrade this belt, that should be the 120 from there plus the 60 from here, all in there. Now that that's quantum transporting, we should be able to go to our final area and bring all of that out. So if we just filter this and then just chuck that into a manufacturer, this is the interestingest thing I've ever done. Why are you unhappy? That is an output on the green, and our green does indeed have the fusion field stabilizer and the neural control interface. And then we get the green one to be the whatever, and then the red one to be the other thing. Does that not make my 60 per minute that I want? And then in you go. Theoretically, this is a working solution. Let's see how slow it is. It's not even coming out. Nothing's even working. It's lying to me. This is stuck. So the diamond goes into here and then it gets stuck. Why? Something gets stuck over here, so we need to have some storage somewhere. If this gets stuck, because this gets stuck, because this gets stuck, is it because we've overclocked too many things? Let me fix the underclocking. So we don't need to overclock this. We don't need to overclock this. We don't need to overclock this. That means we don't need to overclock this. No, we do need to overclock this one. So what gets stuck? Now it's working. Now this gets stuck. Oh, I know what it is. I'm an idiot. Over here, we need to be able to store some stuff. Let's say 50 items, because while these two things don't start up at the same time, they're not going to be consumed. It's going to get stuck here. There you go. Let's see if it goes up to 50 items before the other thing kicks off. 16 items. I feel like the other thing is not even being made. Let's go to the other side of the equation. So this thing is stuck now because this thing is not being made, and this thing's not being made. Why? Because this is all stuck. Why aren't you making this? You've got everything you need. I'm very confused. Oh, this stupid thing. This stupid thing only serves to annoy me. Okay, get rid of this stupid input. There. There. Now it'll be made. No. What? The output of this needs to go into here. The input of this needs to go here. The output needs to go here. Oh, really? You're really gonna do me like this? Oh my god. Let me just refactor this real quick. There we go. That's okay, right? There we go. Figured it out. Our power's fine. We're only using 3000 power. Now this thing's kicked off, this thing's kicked off. Now it's delivering this thing. If we go to the final output area, we should be finally producing this. So yes, we are producing this. It's too slow. So we're gonna need to use a lot more power to speed this whole process up. Way, way, way too slow. So we definitely need to double the production somehow. Two minutes 15 and we're doing it in 2:48. Now, before we go ahead and restructure everything we've done, let's just see how fast we can push the system using one input. Because we have so much power left, we can speed up a lot of these belts. For instance, we can upgrade this entire belt to be a lot faster. And if we, remake this somewhere more appropriate, we could probably do that a lot better. In fact, why can't we just put this here? And then that can go in like that. That can go in like that. And then the welder, which can be anywhere, can just be here. And then this thing can be here. And then this thing can flip. And we can output that like this. We'll even upgrade this belt to make it a little faster. We'll upgrade this belt to make it a little faster. And then this thing can just directly come in here. There we go. That's already an optimization done. That'll make things slightly faster. If we observe just this side of things, it doesn't like this. Why? Is this not a welder? It's an advanced press. Like that. Right? If we observe this side of things, now we can see that one hits, and that thing is slow, right? So if we just stop and go over here and speed up this, that should be a bit faster now. Because that's going to come out now. And then if we go over here, that'll come out of here ASAP. And get this kicked off, which will get this kicked off pretty fast. Now if we go to our final output area, we're already starting to make this a lot sooner than we were before. Did that help? Definitely helped. 2 minutes and 9 seconds. Hey, that's it. That's 5 stars. All right, so we don't need to fix anything. Amazing. So we just needed to make some belts faster. Our solution is number 5 for time. Power, we're number 1. Wow, we're number 1 for power. We've done it in the least amount of power. And for space, we're number 3. Looking at other 5-star solutions, well, this uses a lot more power, but way, way faster. I really want to see how much they're using their diamond. I don't think they're using their diamond that much. They're doing a lot of stuff on that final island where the uranium is coming out of. So they're transporting the item over. That's fine. I guess that saves a lot of space because you get an extra store packer over here. And then, yeah, you're doing all the liquid processing around here. I can see the 2 store packers over here. That means he's using all the diamond, and I think he's not using any astrolite. Yeah, I guess that makes a lot more sense as well. But yeah, lots of ways to skin this fish. But our solution works, so we'll leave it there. On to the next level.